Hello and welcome to the Hibs Observer Thursday afternoon or Thursday evening briefing we'll go for with myself, Liam Bryce, joined by Matty Fairnie from the Long Bangers podcast to look ahead to this weekend's trip to Ibrox. Hibs back in action facing Rangers down in Glasgow after another week off. Matty, first things first though, thank you for joining us as always. How are you getting on?
Yeah, good. Excited to be nearing the weekend and nearing Hibs being back in action. So, all good. How are you?
Yeah, fine. Not bad at all. Same as yourself, just kind of looking forward to the football being back. Did you end up missing it in the end last week? Did you get that? Was there a void by the time Saturday and Sunday
Oh,
came
I,
around?
I gutted more so when it got to Sunday. We're like, what we're going to do the podcast on, and then especially Monday we do the extra content, and we were really scrabbling for stuff. So,
Yeah, you got to get
aye,
creative. I know the feeling because for us, when there's no game, you're looking to just to like where can you pull sort of different content from? What's kind of interesting ideas you can explore. So I do know the feeling. But as I said, back to the kind of the normal this weekend. Hibs taking on Rangers down at Ibrox. But just before we get into the preview, just a word for our new sponsor. Good Vibes Giveaways are proud to sponsor the Hibs Observer and offer fantastic prizes to fans of the club. Prizes change weekly and include tech and gadgets, days out, weekends away, tax-free cash, and even Oasis tickets. Get your tickets now at www.goodvibesgiveaways.com and enter for your chance to spread the good vibes. Matthew, Hibs obviously hoping for some good vibes of their own at Ibrox this weekend. That was a terrible transition. I'm never ever doing
I
that
liked it.
again.
I might use it later.
I've never. No. That was a one and done. We're not doing that again. But I think we can get to the game in due course, but the whole kind of build up to it is, I suppose, from a Hibs perspective, is it's been sort of overshadowed by this ticket carry on. I'm using the phrase carry on. You might have a different word for it, but it's. I hesitate to say it's been resolved now. But there's a conclusion to it. But I understand for some people it's probably too late in the day for it to have been resolved. Especially maybe people I don't know. I'm just kind of speculating here, but I do imagine it's been a real hassle for folk in terms of supporters buses, stuff like that. It's been confirmed now for anybody who didn't see the news earlier on that Ibrox will be at full capacity on Sunday, but it's kind of length of time it's taken to get to that conclusion, and it left Hibs fans kind of in the dark really until confirmation came today. There was a story on our website last night that Hibs did expect to get that full allocation, but tickets really a few minutes before we've come on air today is really only when they've went on sale. So it's not been it's kind of far from ideal from a Hibs fan perspective, and it feels as though the away fans for this fixture for you been treated as a bit of an afterthought, Matty.
Yeah, it could be the shambles really. What are we? We're just the back of five on a Thursday night with the game on the Sunday. If you're looking to get tickets posted out, everybody can go and pick up the tickets for the ticket office. So folk are out of town. I don't think it's digital tickets that are on offer, which would have been like the sensible thing to do as well. You could just download a QR code and scan it on the way in.
Yep.
Yeah, like you mentioned the other things like supporters buses and stuff like that might have been booked on the. We might have to cancel at the last minute thing, so it's not really great for anybody. And considering the noise that Rangers make when it's you know when something's happened to them, you look at the statements that had out when Dundee were cancelling games last season with the waterlogged pitches and everything. I think they could have done more to keep Hibs fans up to date with what was going on. I think, like you said, afterthought is probably quite a good phrase to use for it. It probably accurately reflects it. Even the statement they put out, they only addressed their fans. They nothing to sort of apologise to the Hibs fans for the delay. I just think it's pretty poor from them.
Yeah, and it kind of, as I said, it's David Gray sort of touched on it. He was asked about it at his press conference today, and it's probably the kind of thing where when he's preparing the team, he's not going to be involved in the discussions. Put it that way, he'll be mindful of it. He'll be across it, and obviously, he was just kind of saying that he was kind of reiterating the importance of treating supporters in the right way, and I think he's kind of spot on with that, isn't he? He's talking about how vital the fans are for the Scottish game, what they contribute on the day. So it's kind of pretty poor all round. Well, not all round, but kind of on the part of obviously Rangers not being able to provide these assurances. It's not an ideal situation. I suppose it's good now that folk can now get in and get their tickets, but to be left to this late stage, it probably leaves a pretty bitter taste in the mouth of a lot of supporters, I would imagine.
Yeah, and I think like relationships aren't great between the clubs already. Do you know, like Hibs cut Rangers allocation, so I don't think they were too happy about that. And you almost wonder if there's a bit of, maybe no malice, but maybe it's in the back of their mind that they didn't mind it was Hibs that it was happening to because of that bit of history with Hibs cutting their allocation. So I think both teams probably could have done without it. It's like you say, overshadowed the build-up. It would be nice to be talking about how the team are going to play and all the rest of it, and have folk looking forward to being at the game instead of stressing out about whether or not they're going to get a ticket.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I suppose we kind of talked the other, was it last week we were on? We said it probably might have actually been a better thing for Hibs in the end if it had been at Hampden, because there's certainly a decent record against Rangers over there. But as well, it's kind of all said and done now. Ibrox will be at full capacity. Hibs are belatedly getting the allocation, the full allocation for the away end. And people can get a hold of their tickets now. Hopefully, you've not been inconvenienced too much if you were planning on heading over to Ibrox. So, I mean, onto the game itself. I mean, first of all, we can get into maybe team selections, how you want Hibs to approach it. But what's your kind of general feeling heading into this one?
It's one of these games I think. Right, the optimist in me says it could go either way. We do this on our phone in, right? We do our predictions at the end of our phone in, and everybody tells me how many goals Hibs are going to win by. Like, it doesn't matter who we're playing. Like, they'll go, oh, it's just going to be a tough game, and Hibs will win 2-1. Our record against Rangers recently has been pretty appalling. You have to go back a while for our last win against them. Might even have been the cup game with Jack Ross in charge when we last beat them. I think if we've beat them since then. So they've had our number for a wee while. I don't think Rangers have been that great this season. They're playing tonight, aren't they, against Malmo? I think.
Yeah, kicks off in I think about 6 o'clock. I think aye.
And we sometimes find that works in our favour if a team's had a European game and then it's like almost a wee bit of come down when they're back to league business at the weekend. So I think the last game I watched with Rangers, they were playing Dundee United, and I thought Dundee United were unlucky not to take something for the game. Rangers probably bossed it to start with, but then once Dundee United started moving the ball about, I think if they'd been able to finish, they would have at least taken a point for the game. So I think Hibs, when we go into, we need to be on the front foot from the word go and not go into our shells and sort of be overawed by the full stadium and who we're playing against, and just remember that we're quite good at football. And then I think if we do that, we can get at them. Definitely with the pace that we've got up front, I don't think Rangers will be relaxed about just being able to throw everything forward. As I think we pose enough of a threat going forward at them that will give them something to think about.
Yeah, I caught a bit of that Dundee United Rangers game myself, and I think it was quite evident how Dundee United grew into that game. I think that at the beginning, I think Rangers scored inside the first 10 minutes, and I remember there was a spell where you was thinking, "Oh, this could be anything here," but then there almost seemed to be a slow realization among the Dundee United players that actually we can compete here, and they grew into the game. They had a bit more territory and possession. I think a few chances, obviously without scoring. So, I mean, I suppose that's the last thing you want to see from Hibs this weekend is going behind early again and then having to climb that mountain. Because I think we talked about this again either last week or maybe the week before about the kind of slow starts, only maybe coming on to a game in the second half. But this is a game really where you again, is it the same as it was against Celtic? You don't want to be making a slow start in this game, do you?
Yeah, you have to be right up for it, right from the word go. And I think there's that bit of being patient as a support as well, and understanding you're maybe not going to go toe to toe for that first 20 minutes. I think there's a difference between keeping it tight and sitting off them, and I think Hibs sometimes get that balance wrong. Sometimes we stand off teams when really you still need to be aggressive, even if you're not committing loads of players forward. I think the longer we kind of keep the game at 0-0, or if we can get an early goal, then their fans start to get on their back and we get a bit of an opportunity for it. But I think if we stand off and kind of admire them and show them like the mistakes we made against Celtic, like were basic mistakes. If we do the same, Rangers will punish us. So you just need everybody to kind of go right from the first whistle. just get fired in. It's what the fans want to see as well. Just
Oh,
get stuck in.
yeah, I think they want to see aggression in these games, like controlled aggression. Do you know what I mean? I know, like, in your head, fans might, like the idea of, guys flying into tackles and stuff like that.
Uncontrolled
But then that's
aggression.
uncontrolled aggression. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, that's the kind of stuff that doesn't bear out too well in reality in these games. Games against Rangers and Celtic, Derby games. So I mean, it's a positive start on the front foot that I think you want to see, because obviously it's Rangers definitely aren't infallible. There are kind of vulnerabilities in their team, as other sides have already shown this season. So I mean, and I think it was the two performances against Rangers at Ibrox last season. I feel like fans really came away from those feeling quite underwhelmed and just thinking, well, they could have been done there. Did you find that last season?
Yeah, I found that over the last few seasons against Rangers. It's fun. I actually think we've performed slightly better against Celtic, despite Celtic being I would say, like a much better team. We seem to have this wee block with Rangers where we just don't turn up. I think they need to give a good account of themselves. Definitely is that, whether it's a confidence thing or even a bit of an arrogance to kind of go in and get at them, because you don't want to come away from Ibrox thinking, wish we'd done a bit better there, or been more in the game. You need to come away thinking, if you get beat, it's the right way to lose a game, that you've given it everything, and maybe being a wee bit unlucky. Probably decisions are not going to go your way there, and you need a bit of the rub of the green and all the kind of cliches that come along. But I think the last few times we've played them, we've been underwhelming. I think some of it's been we've not quite been sure how to approach the game as well. I think even it's come for the managers, where they've had like this philosophy how we're going to play, and I'm not sure the players have really believed that it's going to work against Rangers. And one of the things I think about David Gray is he's spoken about not really having a set. We're going to have to pass it out for the goalkeeper to the fullback or the centre half and knock it about and try to draw a press and all this kind of thing. I think David Gray's a bit more pragmatic, and that might go in our favour, in that we'll have tactics designed to win the game rather than just do what we normally do.
Yeah, I think certainly I think it was the first time Hibs went to Ibrox last season. I think they were quite brutally punished in certain moments for being perhaps maybe a bit too open, a bit too easy to play against. So I think that's probably kind of number one. Being a bit harder to break down than they were in these games at last season. There was a kind of 3-0 game at Easter Road as well, where Rangers, they kind of Hibs never really laid a glove on them. So I think that's the kind of first step. I would think, perhaps in David Gray's mind, like, they need to be harder to beat in these games before you worry about anything else. But just in terms of maybe where Hibs can look to hurt Rangers, I think you mentioned pace on the flanks earlier on, and I think that's probably quite a lot of people's minds, because I think Rangers, they get the fullbacks who like to push high. I think they've brought in the lad, is it Jeffy on the left, at left back now. He likes to get forward. He sometimes, I think at Dundee United, almost when that game I saw, he was almost playing like a winger in possession. Obviously, everybody knows James Tavernier likes to get forward. So I wonder if there's maybe a couple of decisions to be made there, because obviously David Gray, the last game, he left Martin Boyle on the bench. Do you think maybe for a game like this, could he be tempted to bring somebody like that back in just for that bit of extra pace on the wide areas?
Yeah, I definitely would do it. I think like Tavernier is a good example. You look at how Celtic play against Rangers, and they put Maeda up against Tavernier, and it totally nullifies Tavernier because he's got the pace, and I think Tavernier's terrified of it. And we've got similar pace in the team, so whether it's Yuan or Boyle, um, I think that's where you get at Rangers. And if you keep them high as well, it's almost being a wee bit brave to say, I don't need you to tracking back to help the fullbacks so much. Stay at the halfway line and give their fullback something to think about, because we will win the ball in tackles and defence. So if we can win it and knock it to the wingers and catch their their fullbacks up the pitch, then we'll create chances with it. I wouldn't mind seeing Hoylett start him.
Yeah,
I think he's somebody I don't think would be overawed by the occasion or the venue or anything. His experience and definitely his ability, based on what we saw last time out, would cause Rangers problems as well.
Yeah, it's calmness on the ball as well, isn't it? He's as you say, he's not going to be overawed by the occasion, the venue, and I think just naturally, I think you saw it a wee bit against St Johnstone that kind of composure and the way he brings others into the game, it rubs off on other people, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and you're probably looking to Kwon, to deliver the same in the middle of the park because he's at Celtic, a Celtic player, so this shouldn't be a sort of stage that overawes him either. Um, so you're looking for those type of players to stand up in this sort of game and set the example and the tone for the rest of the players.
Yeah, just on the midfield, I was going to touch on that. I think if everybody was fit and available, you'd probably expect the same midfield that started against Kilmarnock at Rugby Park. I would have thought anyway, but obviously Joe Newell was out against St Johnstone. David Gray was asked about that today at his press conference, and he was a wee bit non-committal about exactly where Newell was at. I think he said something. I need to get back and fully check it, but I think he said something along the lines of, he's progressing. So I don't think he kind of wanted to quite commit as to whether he was going to be involved at the weekends. So I mean, say if if he wasn't, or even if he was, you might have a kind of different take on it. But I think the kind of as the sort of third man in that midfield, I think Kwon and Triantis sort of pick themselves at the moment. They'd Rudy Molotnikov played as the number 10 against St Johnstone, but you do have other options in there. I mean, I suppose perhaps if you wanted a bit more industry in that area, would you look to Josh Campbell, or would you be tempted to give Molotnikov his chance to impress in a big game like this?
I think I would probably start with Molotnikov.
Yeah.
It's a tricky one. I'm a big fan of Josh Campbell. I think he's a good player, and definitely for a game like this, that his running can be invaluable. But I think if you want to carry a threat, you need somebody who's like a little bit more clinical in the final third. I'm actually probably going to contradict myself here because I think Josh Campbell's numbers in the attacking sense are better than Molotnikov's. But I think Rudy's played his way into the team. I think he deserves to keep his place. And it's even looking at the long-term benefit of playing Rudy Molotnikov because he's still at that age where he's developing, giving him the experience and the responsibility and the trust in a game like this will probably pay off further down the line as well. So I think Kwon, Chantis, and Molotnikov would be my three in the middle.
Yeah, I'd imagine a lot of people would probably agree with you on that. And I think just finally, in terms of the team, I mean, over the past couple of weeks, there's been kind of maybe a sort of tentatively recognising that it's maybe looking a wee bit more solid. Things are starting to gel. I think Hibs were kind of mostly untroubled against St Johnstone. But that's a real kind of test to see if that back line is gelling together, isn't it?
Aye, this is where we'll properly find out. I mean, St Johnstone, I think we limited them to one shot from outside the box. That'll definitely not be the case on Sunday. So I think Hibs are vulnerable. Like I don't think that's gone away since the start of the season, but we are better. We'll have, I think, probably Cadam starting at right back, and I think his experience helps. I think Miller can be still a wee bit rash in these games. Abita, although he's not been in the best of form, he's still a good player, and his experience will be good on the left hand side. So we'll be tested. I think it comes to the concentration with Hibs. Like the defenders are always like they're all capable enough, but when we have to be brain farts, we get punished. And so if we can avoid those and stay switched on, and I almost think sometimes it's more likely in the tougher games that we stay switched on than it is in the smaller ones because you're up against it and everybody's kind
Yeah,
of they know what job they've got to do. So I'm talking myself into Hibs win here again. This is what happens, eh? Like
I'm just letting you go here because that feels like the inevitable conclusion you're about to arrive at.
Aye, yeah, an easy one as well. 3-0. I think the big thing is, so there's a good chance we'll concede, and what Hibs can't afford to do is let that one goal become 2 and 3 or 4, which were quite bad for us as well. Is that kind of that when we lose concentration and make the mistake, we compound it with another one shortly after. And so I think if we keep it tight, we'll give ourselves a decent chance. As obvious as that is to say, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
what a bit of insight that is.
Well, you had to talk yourself down for the 3-0 victory a wee bit there, didn't you, to be fair? So, we'll allow you that one. But yeah, I think you're right. All of that is kind of very kind of sensible stuff. And I'd imagine it's the kind of thing that David Gray is trying to drum into the players. Like, it's concentration is so important in these games. It's especially these ones where any sort of slip up is more likely to be punished. So I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing how Hibs get on, really, to be honest, because there have been sort of signs of improvement. Obviously, nobody getting carried away. It's still only one league win this season. Form at Ibrox hasn't been great, but it is interesting to see how this kind of new look team with these sort of different profiles of players. I think we were talking about how last week, again, I don't mean to just keep repeating talking points over and over again, but there's only been 2 games this month, so it's kind of it's hard to come up with new ones when there's not been that much football. But just in terms of physical profile of the team, a bigger side, a bit more physically robust, how they get on in this situation. There's a lot of how the likes of Hoylett might get on if he's brought in. Can he be a difference maker? You saw that some of his best performance for Aberdeen, well, certainly what I seen was when he came off the bench against Celtic in that cup semi-final. Shows that he can still do it in big games. Not even touched on the potential, potentially bringing in Dwight Gale as well. He might see some minutes. Another experienced player that would probably again not be overawed, not be phased by this kind of occasion. So that's, I mean, it is one to look forward to, really, isn't it? At the end of the day.
Yeah, I think so. I think the big thing is that I'd love to see the team just being really brave. I mean, I talk about bravery. It's the on-the-ball bravery, like taking the ball and not just kicking it the way you're facing, which we're prone to doing in these big games as well. Is we sort of panic when we get on the ball, but get your foot on it and take a man on or find a pass and be prepared to take the ball and when you're under a bit of pressure. I think if we can see that, we'll do all right. I think we've got better strength and depth now as well. Like looking off the bench against St Johnstone, there was options there, and it'll be the same on Sunday. So, there's plenty reasons to be optimistic about it, I think.
Yeah, that you make a good point there with the sort of bravery on the ball, because I might find it interesting at the time. It was after the Celtic game at Easter Road, and I think David Gray was maybe asked something along the lines of what he was most disappointed with. Where did that go wrong? And I think you were maybe expecting him to talk about the goals conceded and the defending, but I think the first thing he went to, if I remember rightly, was like, he's like, we just weren't brave enough on the ball. And he's like, when I talk about bravery, he's basically kind of said what you said there. It's not. I mean, there is bravery in terms of defending, getting into challenges, putting your body on the line, but bravery, that different type of bravery that you need in these games, is to take the ball, use it, trust your teammates to take the ball as well, being, trusting that you can give a guy the ball under pressure and he's going to be able to deal with that. So I suppose it's an individual and a collective thing. And I think you're pretty spot on there that is, it's be an important factor, as well as keeping the ball out of the net as well. So as you say, plenty to look forward to, things to be optimistic about, but for now, I think we are going to leave it there for this evening. Thanks as always for joining us, folks. If you're with us on YouTube and you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, please do consider doing that. Lets you keep up to date with all our content, these videos, and we'll have pre and post match content from the Rangers game on Sunday, over the weekend and into next week. So yeah, as always, thank you for joining us, folks, and thank you, Matty, for joining us as well. Yeah, take care, folks, and we will speak to you again very, very soon. Cheers.